We're happy to be joined right now by Representative David Schweikert, who is also running for Arizona governor. Congressman, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Mark, thank you for having me.
Before we get to Venezuela, you've probably just heard our coverage on what happened in Minneapolis today, the deadly ICE shooting, a U.S. citizen killed during an immigration sweep. And there are, as you probably know, conflicting accounts about what happened. But the optics certainly aren't good. Can you tell us if you've been briefed on this and what happened? What is your take?
No, it's too recent. We spent much today in a security briefing in regards to Venezuela, some of the policies that are going on there. I'm sure the next day or so, when there's more facts on what happened in Minnesota, we'll get a briefing there.
Today, the U.S., as I mentioned, seized an oil tanker flying a Russian flag. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said the interim Venezuelan government wants to use that oil as part of a deal where the U.S. would take tens of millions of barrels of that oil and sell it at market rates. Why are we doing this?
Part of that is we've had sanctions on Venezuelan oil for quite a while. Matter of fact, going back a couple administrations. Much of the hydrocarbon oil Venezuela's been selling, they've been doing it at dramatic discounts to Cuba, other countries. If we're able to use our market functions, because we're going to lift the sanctions, but we're going to provide the market clearing, it actually should provide some value for hopefully reestablishing normality in Venezuela.
The president has told U.S. oil companies to, quote, get ready. If that's true, why should U.S. oil companies benefit from this action, and will they?
It's more complicated. If you go back during the Hugo Chavez era, there was expropriation of many U.S. assets in the country that were never compensated. So there's been international courts and those things for many, many years and claims on the government. Is this a way for those claims to be, paid for, or is this an opportunity just for the huge amount of capital? Remember, there's been massive underinvestment in the country for 20-some years.
Should we, and you've always been very candid with me, and it's something I appreciate about you, should we be invading countries for their natural resources, even if that country is ruled by a dictator and is in poor shape?
Yeah, I want to take you a little bit further. I have intense concern. United States does not get into nation building. It hasn't gone well in the past when we've done it. It's been very expensive. You have a country that, this year for every dollar of tax collection, we're going to spend $1.43. We don't have the bandwidth to prop up another country. The capture, though, of the Venezuelan president, there were criminal sanctions all the way from the Biden administration to the Trump administration. Matter of fact, they had a bounty. I think it was up to $50 million. And we have a history of that. As you know, in Panama, many years ago, we actually grabbed their leader for drug trafficking also. So if we're able to do this in a fashion where we help the country be able to have cash flow again and start to build civil society without it costing American taxpayers, wonderful. But no boots on the ground. I consider that almost unacceptable.
Secretary of State Rubio also said the U.S. isn't ruling out going into Greenland. I understand it's a very strategic position globally, but we can't just start invading countries, can we?
Yeah, and particularly in a fellow NATO country. What we're having, many of us, and I've had conversations with folks at the administration, have never gotten a completely satisfactory answer. And these are my friends. We already have military installations on Greenland. We've actually pared them back over the last 30 years, but there's facilities that need rehabbing. Yes, it's remarkably strategic. And as some of the polar ice cap thins up, it's going to be another trade route. So it becomes a key choke point. But the Danes have made it very clear we actually have reciprocity in military facilities. And I'm hoping that's what the discussions going on in Europe and Washington right now we can actually build that relationship and stop trying to put basically our NATO relationships at threat.
No one will weep for Maduro. He's a dangerous guy. But if we invaded Venezuela, as some say, because of drugs and not oil, why not invade China or Mexico, who are pumping tons of fentanyl into America?
Well, Mark, remember, this wasn't an invasion. It was a capture. We had someone that was under criminal indictment.
You say capture. I think the optics say invasion.
You and I disagree on this one.
Okay.
Because do we have any troops there? No. We executed a warrant. We executed a warrant. You often, when doing that, you have to actually have backup. In this case, you had to have also military backup. But it was Justice Department teams that actually did the arrest and brought back. We have no troops on the ground. Okay. We did that with Noriega. My concern, once again, is that we don't get caught in the trap of nation building.
All right. Congressman, I can't let you go without asking you about your campaign for governor. What do you think is the biggest issue as we sit here tonight that's facing our state over the next 5 to 10 years?
Prosperity. Look, we were in many ways for a decade plus a golden gem of wage growth, prosperity, affordability. You know, you could raise your kids and they could move off and have a home. And almost none of those things are true today. We have to get back in that rhythm of bringing in dynamic, well-paying jobs, businesses that actually provide opportunity to the next generation. We also have to deal with our resources that we have in regards to water, power, and I just don't see the strategic planning that was our hallmark in the past.
Congressman David Schweikert, always a pleasure to talk to you. You're always very candid. I appreciate it. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Mark. Go enjoy your evening.
You too, sir.